This is Jay Pirro, just locking in. Welcome to my page. It's going to be a little bumpy here and there. Sorry about that, but hopefully YouTube can stabilize it. I'm trying to use this platform a little bit better. I've seen a few people do blogs and stuff and utilize their YouTube page, so I didn't have time to get in, a central area today. But here we go. So, what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is actually the difference between renting an apartment and owning a building. Now, I know y'all might say, "Hey, where did that come from?" Is this far fetched? Is like what is he talking about? So, I just want y'all to understand the concept. So, last night, I was with a few of my friends, a lot of my older homeboys, people I grew up with, and one person, came up to me and they was like, "Yo, I really like what you're doing for your brand. You expanding the brand. I seen you had the clothing line. Um, you got the music going. You've been doing the music for like years, 20 years plus, whatever it might be. Making beats. Help my artists." A&R the projects, putting the beats and selecting on the way you find the hooks and putting the hooks together. You know what I'm saying? Organizing and arranging albums, projects, mixtapes, whatever you call it. And he was like, "Yo, I actually downloaded the app." He was like, "Yo, that app is dope." Like he was like, "You play a little bit of everything. You got R&B, you got rap, you got new rap, you got old school rap, you got 90s, 2000s." He was like, "Yo, I really appreciate what you're doing." And now keep in mind, this person is 8 years older than me. So I mean, I grew up around a lot of people that were a little bit older than me, just because like the age range of people in my neighborhood. I guess you know some parents had their kids um, a little bit earlier than as I came along. So I was one of the younger ones. But later on down the line, I was in a group and all of that good stuff, and I learned a lot of things by being in multiple groups actually. So I say, do you want to own the building, or do you want to be a person who leases or rents inside the building? So let's take it a step further. So like everything that we do is almost like a pyramid or an apartment building. So let's just use apartment building for the sake of the matter. So if you got an apartment building, someone um, owns the actual building, and they're either renting space or they're leasing and renting, or they lease apartments and spaces out to various people in that building, and they can charge a way higher price for having the apartment or leasing the space than they could if they sold the entire property. Now, I mean, they could really max out. That building has, let's say the building has 20 spaces. So if that building has 20 spaces and all of the spaces inside the building are almost equal, or what have you, let's just say they're all equal, and they say, "Hey, to lease out this space is $200 a month times 20 spaces." You can imagine how much money that actually is. I mean, it probably is like $44,000 a month that they could get back in rent, and not even saying that how much money they actually need to run the building. So I'm sure it's not $44,000 to run the building, because everybody ain't occupying space, and then on top of that, people still have to pay utilities and all of that kind of stuff, unless that's included. But let's take it to the next step. So the next step is, I look at the music business, right? So I don't want to complicate things, so let's just look at record labels. So we got pretty much Universal. It's like the main head or hub of everything. Um, then you have, you got Epic, you got Rockefeller. I mean, not Rockefeller. You got Rock Nation, which is not even really a record label. Let's say we have. Let's not use Rock Nation. Let's go with Def Jam. Then you have, which is under Universal's umbrella. Let's use, um, let's go back to the 90s. I'm gonna use the 90s and the early 2000s. It's more simplified. So you got Rockefeller, Def Jam, Murder Inc., and then you got Bloodline DMX label. They all in Def Jam building, but Universal owns the building. Now you also have Sony, Epic, Columbia in a whole nother building. So now at the top of the chain, you may have the big company, and then you got these other companies under them. So now they're paying rent in your building. Now each company has artists that work for them. But before the artists, they have the CEO, the execs, and all of the vice president, chairs, and all of that kind of stuff. And then, it trickles down to like the lower tiers of the pyramid. So when you're trying to get a record deal or you're trying to build a business from the ground up, you actually start from the bottom of the food chain, and your goal, I don't even know what your goal may be, but most people's goals would be to get to the top of the food chain or the top of the pyramid. So when you're artists, we're all, as I am, and I may not seek to be just an artist, or I don't seek to be just an artist because I see bigger than that. So when you're trying to chase the deal, you chasing the deal, you chasing everything, you're at the bottom of the food chain. So now you're trying to get record label to look at you, or you're trying to get a bigger company to look at you if you design clothes, if you sell things, whatever it might be, whatever your idea, whatever your brand is, you're trying to get somebody to see it from a bigger perspective or allow you to market your idea on a bigger scale. So when you're at the bottom of the food chain, the first thing you're trying to do is have people say, "Look at me, look at me, look at me." So what you do is you're trying to draw attention. So the first thing people usually do is either they create a whole bunch of content or they do um, try to do their best things first so that they can draw attention to them. Hopefully, that gets people looking. So now you got the common man looking at you. That means just a fan or a supportive person or somebody that has a likeness that you have, and then y'all all kind of like vibe off each other, and then they tell people the word of mouth, and then it starts exchanging at the bottom of the chain. Now you might draw some attention. So now as you draw some attention, you get the connections from other people that are maybe either on the same page as you, but they might got a little bit more connection. So they start talking to somebody. They say, "Hey, do you know such and such? Well, yeah, I heard his music, or I like his clothes, or I like her clothes. I like the way she do makeup, whatever." They start talking. So now those people know people on that next tier, that next level. Now, keep in mind, you're not even in the building yet. Next thing you know, if you move in the right directions or you start seeking to get to the next level, you might say, let me slow my content down and let me start making better content, or let me make a move and try to build a relationship with somebody. So now you're building a relationship, the relationship is working, and that person says, hey, stop by for a second, come through, chill, check this out, or I want you to check out what I do. So now you're checking out what that person does, and then that person believe in you a little bit, so they might start plugging you in with their people. So now you're moving into that next tier or that next level. So now somebody in the building is paying attention to what you're doing. So now, once you're in the building, what do you have to do when you get in the building? You're either working to lease your space or you're paying to lease your space. So, what's the payment? Is the payment going to be, I'm just going to make music for free for this company? Or am I going to pay this company to live in the building? And that's where we all, as artists, make a good or bad choice. So for me, early with music, rapping, and all of that good stuff, I believe I made a bad choice from the beginning. The bad choice wasn't being in a group. That was the best choice I could have ever made, because when you got two or three other smart or intelligent people, those people feed off your vibes and you create vibes and things like that to make things work. So being in a group, I realized from watching Wu Tang, you know, Outkast, Capone and Noriega, Mobb Deep, you know, two or three people and more is always better than one. But it's so much easier to get your space in the building as one. And I'm gonna tell you why. So over time, we've seen all these groups fold, have disagreements, arguments, and most of the time, it's always over something financial or because somebody didn't understand the business. And the business is where everything lies. And that's where people, the friends and business piece is what always destroys business and opportunity. So now we're in the building. So since we're in the building, I'm just going to say I'm in the building, but I'm on a major record label, right? Or I'm working for a big company that distributes my clothing or my music. Now I'm working for this company. So let's say every time I put a product out, I get 1% or zero point 0.5 of every sale made. So let's just use a price point of $15. And then I get zero point 0.5 of that. So not even not zero point 0.5, I'm sorry. Oh, let me see. Let's do 1%. I get 1% of every sale. So if I'm selling my album and it costs $15 on a stream, and we know streaming ain't even that high. So let's use a better number. Let's do $1. And I mean let's do $10. So I get 1% for every album sold, a whole album. So that would be $1 off of not even 1%. I'm sorry, that'd be 10 cents for every album sold. So let's say I move let's say I don't even know. Let's just use a number. Let's say my album streamed 1,000 times on on the first day. I'm indie, so right now, so I'm just getting on the label. So the first time my album streamed like 1,000 times the first day. So my album streamed 1,000 times the first day. Then at 1%, I'm only bringing home 1% of $1,000. So if I do that 100,000, I do a million, whatever it's going to be, that number is so small for the type of work that I'm doing. I'm sacrificing and doing all of these things for. Why would I want to work for somebody? You know why I would want to work for somebody? Because the entire time growing up on TV, the internet, movies, clothing, all of that, we just see this image and this symbol, and it makes us feel like I'm empowered even heavier if I'm working for the machine or the machine is working for me. Now, some people figure it out. They keep their costs low, they keep their budgets low, and they're able to mix and move and do things on their own, and then they can maximize their budget that the record label might give them. Record label might give you 200 or 300,000 up front, but then you got to pay for beats, you got to pay the producers, you got to pay for studio time, you got to pay for your lawyer, then you got to pay. You probably going to buy your parents a crib, you going to buy yourself a crib, you going to buy a car, you going to fuck some money up with some of your friends and all of that good stuff. So at the end of the day, shit, after you got 200, $300,000, you ain't got shit. You can even start off with $1 million. And you going to run through $1 million. And it's been plenty of rappers that told this story multiple times. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm salty I haven't got a record deal, but sometimes I look at the bigger picture. And I looked at it like this. With the radio station, I own the building. People ask me every day, well, don't you care about making money? I do. I care about making money, but I don't care about making money necessarily from the radio station. I care about making money doing the things that I like to do and the things that I love to do. So that's either DJing, making beats, streams off of music. Right now, my goal, honestly, is to really just make money straight from music. Now, I might get into flipping some houses or owning some stock and things like that. But ultimately, my main goal right now is to maximize every business that I have and my connections and do it in a way that's not stealing or taking from somebody else without them having the knowledge. The same way that I had to learn how things work and how to make things work for me is the same way that other people need to go through, fail, try, attempt, and figure out how you are going to be you in the future. Like It's not like everybody want to get on the fast track, and then we all fuck up because we trying to take shortcuts. But overall, the shortcut is actually going to teach you a lesson, and you're going to learn by saying, hey, by me not omitting steps, I actually learned how to do this thing better than the person that came before me, or I learned from this person's mistakes, or I learned from my own mistakes. So now when I come up with my next thing or my next plan, I'm going to go way harder. So I'm just saying, look at the bigger picture. You could work for the record label. You could watch all the interviews and people tell you, hey, the label, they looked out for us, they got us out the hood, they did this. But when are you going to maximize your full potential and put in the work and, you know, give up some things so that you can be where you want to be? A lot of these people out here, moguls and stuff, tell you, oh, you got to live subpar. You got to give up all your things. Like you got to, live in a bad apartment, shitty conditions. You got to move somewhere where you wouldn't want to be. And you just got to do shit that you really don't want to do. And I think that's where people got it all twisted and messed up. So I'm sorry for the change in the video, but I had some little difficulties just now. So I'm just trying to make sure that I finish this video up. So I'm about to leave y'all and leave off with this piece of not necessarily advice, but just with this in mind. Um, just don't look for things to happen for you automatically and thinking that trying to get a famous person to help you out is going to get you where you need to be. Yeah, you need to get those looks from the famous people, and you need to get the respect from the famous people and bigger people that may have more connections than you, but you have to do the work. You can't expect your friends to understand your genius or your madness or your passion for what you do. Just continue to keep working, doing your own thing on your time, and don't hold people to want things the same way you want them or to have the same passion that you have for what you want to do. And you can't don't blame yourself. All you can do is tell yourself that you're going to do better, you're going to do more, make goals, plan stuff out on paper. If you got to do it the old school way, it doesn't matter. And genuinely just look for the good in everything that you do, and small victories always count. And just try your best to think of owning the building before you decide to rent a space in the building. And it's okay to rent a space in the building if you're renting a space for your own business. So even if you got to come out of your pocket, it's better for you to rent the space on your own with your money and your own profits than it is for you to work for somebody in their space. Now, if you have a job, it's completely different. Working for a company to fuel your business is okay. But when you're working for a company and you have no reason to do anything else outside of that and just slave for no reason, then it's a different scenario. So my advice to everybody, try to own a building, rent spaces out, and help your people so that they can help their people. And that's how we keep the money in our culture, in our family, in our crews. Understand? Man, it's been good talking to y'all. I appreciate everybody for listening, for tuning in. Hopefully, I can continue doing more. I know I might have been rambling here and there, but my point was just try to own the building. I love talking to everybody. Listen to Penthouse Radio on iTunes or the Apple app and Google Play. And I'll see y'all next time. I'm out.